The sharp hiss of the aircraft doors opening was drowned by the hum of arrival at Kennedy International Airport. Outside, New York City was breathing through a cold, gray afternoon. But inside Terminal 7, it was chaos as usual, blending nationalities, accents, body heat, and the lingering scent of jet fuel and coffee. Among the sea of people disembarking from the flight, four abreast, 2 by 2 out of Geneva, one figure moved with silent composure. Sergeant Major Evelyn Reed, a woman whose steps were unhurried yet firm. She was 52 and dressed simply, cream-colored trousers, a navy blue blouse, and a tailored wool coat. Her skin was the soft shade of roasted chestnuts. Her hair, black at the roots but generously touched by silver, though she wore no insignia or uniform. Everything about her, her bearing, her posture, the deliberate calm with which she adjusted her scarf, betrayed a background rooted in discipline and authority. Most, however, would simply see a black woman in civilian clothes. Evelyn was tired. After nearly 12 hours in the air and 3 grueling weeks at a defense strategy summit in Geneva, she longed for the quiet of her Brooklyn brownstone and the gentle voice of her daughter across a video call. Her mind was on home, not on confrontation. But fate, as it often does, had other plans. As she exited the jet bridge and stepped into the wide corridor of the terminal, a subtle shift in energy made her pause. Something instinctive, a sixth sense forged from years of high-stakes international service. Her eyes flicked discreetly to her left. There, near a pillar bearing an oversized advertisement for luxury watches, stood 2 Port Authority officers. The first was Sergeant Frank Miller, red-faced, eyes constantly squinting as though permanently skeptical. His uniform was tight around the middle, his utility belt tugging awkwardly at his hips. Beside him stood Officer Gary Wilson, younger, but visibly trying to mimic his partner's self-importance. Their eyes scanned the crowd lazily until they landed on Evelyn. She felt the burn of their stares before she saw them move. Miller nudged Wilson with his elbow, said something under his breath, and both began walking in her direction. Evelyn continued at her normal pace, her carry-on rolling behind her, heart steady but alert. She had been here before, metaphorically at least. This wasn't her first time being the wrong color in the wrong place in the eyes of men who believed they had power. "Excuse me, ma'am," Miller said, stepping directly into her path. "We need to see your identification." Evelyn stopped. There was no greeting, no context. Just a demand. She met his eyes evenly. "Is there a reason I'm being stopped?" she asked, her voice smooth and low. "Routine screening," Wilson said quickly, almost by rote. "We're conducting random checks on disembarking passengers." Random. Of all the business class passengers in front and behind her, of all the people flowing through the terminal, she was the only one being stopped. She knew it. They knew it. With practiced calm, Evelyn opened her purse, pulled out her state-issued ID, and handed it over. Miller scrutinized the card with theatrical intensity. "Park Slope," he murmured, glancing at her dress. "Nice area," she said. "Nothing. You fly business class often, Ms. Reed?" Still, she said nothing. "Ma'am," he pressed. Evelyn's gaze sharpened. "My occupation is not relevant to this check." Officer Wilson stepped forward, placing a hand on his baton. "We're asking questions, ma'am. Cooperation is expected." A few travelers were slowing, sensing tension. One man pulled out his phone and began to record discreetly. Miller noticed, but didn't care. He liked having an audience. "Answer the question. Or we can move this elsewhere," Miller growled. "Now, what exactly do you do?" "I'm an advisor on international security policy," Evelyn replied evenly. Miller snorted. "And I'm the King of England." It wasn't just disbelief in his voice, it was derision, mockery layered with racial contempt. He leaned in closer. "Someone like you, dressed like that, coming off a plane from Europe, carrying a bag that costs more than my paycheck. Give me a break." Evelyn clenched her jaw. "I'd like to speak to your supervisor." And that was it. The request that turned suspicion into hostility. Miller's face reddened further. "You think you can bark orders at us, lady?" He signaled to Wilson. "Obstructing law enforcement. Cuff her." "No." Evelyn stepped back. "You have no grounds." But they didn't care. Her wrists were grabbed roughly, twisted behind her. The cold steel of the handcuffs bit into her skin. People gasped. Phones came out. Children stared. She was no longer a woman returning from duty. She was now that woman being arrested. As the cuffs locked, humiliation surged through her like acid. But Evelyn didn't scream, didn't cry. She raised her head even as the pain bloomed in her shoulder. "This is a mistake," she said firmly. Miller leaned close, his breath stale. "Yeah, well, call your lawyer or your congressman. Hell, call the president." "I don't need a lawyer," she said. "I need one phone call." Wilson hesitated. Miller waved him off. "Let her. It's not going to change a damn thing." With difficulty, Wilson fished her phone from her purse and held it to her ear. Evelyn recited a series of numbers. Not a regular phone number, but an encrypted military code. Wilson frowned but dialed. The line clicked once. "Eagle Secure Command," said a voice. "Identify Sergeant Major Evelyn Reed. Authorization code Sierra Tango 9 Alpha 7. Bravo Charlie 052. There was a pause. "Sergeant Major Reed. Confirm location. Kennedy International Airport. Terminal 7, near Carousel 4. I am detained in restraints by 2 Port Authority officers. No charges, no justification." A breath. A second voice joined. "This is General Thompson's office. Sergeant Major, please hold. Intervention will be immediate." The phone went dead. Miller's smirk vanished. "What the hell was that?" Wilson was pale. "Did she say?" "Yes," Evelyn said. "United States Army, and you're about to have a very long day." The silence that followed was crushing. Within 8 minutes, 3 black SUVs rolled up outside the terminal. Military police emerged, flanked by officials from the Department of Homeland Security. At the same time, Port Authority command staff rushed in from the Internal Security Office. Captain Eva Rostova took one look at Evelyn's red wrists and turned to her officers. "You're done," she said coldly. "Weapons, badges." "Now," Miller sputtered. "This is some mistake." You thought wrong," Captain Rostova snapped. A fatal one. In the days that followed, the footage went viral. News stations played it on repeat. Civil rights attorneys called it a modern-day Rosa Parks moment. The military confirmed her identity. The Pentagon issued a statement of support. Miller and Wilson were charged with unlawful arrest, abuse of authority, and racially motivated misconduct. Their trial was swift, damning, and public. In the courtroom, Evelyn testified with precise, unwavering clarity. She didn't want revenge. She wanted accountability. After 2 weeks of witness testimony, video playback, and scathing cross-examinations, the jury found both officers guilty. Miller, the instigator, received 5 years in federal prison. Wilson, who had followed but not led, received 2. Neither wore their uniforms again. After the trial, Evelyn returned to Washington. She resumed her post at the Pentagon and never once used the incident as a political tool. But she wore its memory like armor. Because for all the medals and accolades, it reminded her that injustice could come for anyone, anywhere. And that sometimes, justice must be demanded, not asked, a stark reminder that even those who serve to protect are not immune to prejudice, and that vigilance against discrimination remains a constant necessity.